So it just didn't do the audio level. So no drivers,
Yeah,
no problem.
no drivers, no problem. Well, we are live.
Yes, we
Welcome.
are.
Welcome, everyone, to the official AWS EMEA Ask Me Anything with developer advocates from the European, Middle Eastern, and African region. Today, we have Marcia Villalba. I'm not sure if I butchered your name right now. She's
It's
calling
okay.
in.
You say pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Marcia is calling it from Helsinki. Darko, Darko Suburika, no, Darko Mesaros.
Subotica is my hometown, but okay, it's fine. I'll take it.
Darko Mesaros is calling in from Berlin, and I'm Dennis, calling in from Hamburg in Germany. Yeah, maybe the two of you want to introduce yourselves real quick. Marcia, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I'm Marcia Villalba. I'm developer advocate. I switched roles, so I'm based in Helsinki. I was the Nordic developer advocate, but now I'm an online developer advocate. So yeah, I can do this as a show officially.
Aren't we all the online developer advocates in the time of the plague? Yeah,
I know. But when you start travel, I don't start traveling.
That's a fair point.
My specialty is serverless and some app sync and things like that. So if you have any questions regarding those topics, I'm be more than happy to help you out.
Okay.
Cool.
To introduce myself. Hi.
Yeah.
My name is Darko Mesaros. Yes. That's my last name. I know people have trouble pronouncing it, but it's fine. I'm also a developer advocate. Unlike Marcia, I'm not an online developer advocate, or I am by the current state of things, but I cover Central Eastern Europe, Russia, CIS region, so everything east of Berlin, basically, to an extent. And I'm based in Berlin, actually. Been working for AWS for, it's going to be 5 years almost. So I'm really looking forward to my new yellow badge and being 5 years tenure at Amazon. So very happy about that. And you, Dennis?
Crazy. I'm approaching my first year at Amazon next month. I'm going to be
When
here
is your date?
I started October 1st last year.
Okay, so I started 2nd of September, so my first.
Oh, so you have more tenure than I do. Okay, so I'm Dennis. I'm a developer advocate as well. I used to be a solutions architect in the global team with AWS and joined the developer advocate team this summer to take care of our customers in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, but also, of course, with the plague. Online. Exactly. And that's where we all are online. So this is an Ask Me Anything. So if you have any questions, technical or non-technical around AWS, maybe even you're interested in applying for a role, you can ask us anything, and we will
career development.
Diversity and inclusion and diversity at Amazon, all kinds of topics that might be interesting to you, but also technical questions. We really love to dive deep. All of us are technical people, and we used to do technical things in the past. We sometimes do today. So if you have any questions, please go ahead, post them in the chat. I hope we can. I'm still struggling with. I'm hosting this today, so I'm the one who struggles with the technical things. Okay. Marcia and Darko will be the ones hopefully being able to answer the questions. I will jump in as much as I can. So let me see. We have hello from Germany, Ayman. Great that you're here. Apurv Mot from India is, that's really nice. From India, FooBar Serverless is here. I think that's
Marcia's
YouTube channel. And Vahe Abelyan is calling in from Armenia. So we have a very international crowd here today. That's really great. It's great that you're online. Let me see. So I have this nice thing here. Welcome.
Yes. So people kind of get it straight from the bat what we do right now. So did Marcia lose sound? We can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah.
We can hear you. Yes. Yes.
Yes. But can you hear us? No. We can hear you, but I think your audio went to a different microphone potentially, right? We cannot hear anything now. No,
we can't hear you, Marcia. We can't hear you. So
there's an interesting question from Ayman. What is the salary range of ads expert from entry to professional in Germany? Wow, that's
I don't know.
Glassdoor.com.
Yeah, right. I have no idea. I'm not in an ads expert. I'm a programmer by trade. An AWS expert. Oh,
AWS expert.
yeah. Okay, and that's what you meant. Still, that's I have this nice banner here.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. This is something that is very individual. Highly depends on where you apply, what company you're going to work for, what industry, your expertise, your skill level. The salary range really is from what you can expect. It goes from, well, if you're a proven AWS expert, it's probably not that low, because that's skill set that is sought for. So if you really have experience, I think that you can really ask for a reasonable salary. But in terms of numbers, it's really hard to say.
Right. That's true, and it also depends on which city. There's a whole lot of differences here, because comparing Berlin to Dresden or Hamburg or Munich would be different as well. But I think I would say, like, at least the jobs I've seen and the jobs I was being like kind of offered, again, depending on the seniority level, they started like 40,000 or 50,000 euros a year. At least some entry level jobs in Berlin that I've seen, and they go like up to the 70s and 80s, and they can go more, again, depending on your seniority and what you do. So
yeah, right. And it might be different in cities like Frankfurt or Munich, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where living expenses are a little higher than Berlin, because Berlin is getting quite expensive now. I used to live in Berlin in the 2000s, and it was still quite inexpensive. That has changed. We do have another question here from Twishish Shrimali. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm already AWS certified solutions architect. Is that associate or professional? I'm confused how to go ahead in terms of technical jobs.
Did you just pass the certification and that's it, right? Because I had a similar experience, but not with AWS, with Microsoft. I was a Microsoft certified enterprise administrator, or whatever it was back then, without a job. And basically, the certification helped me to get into a job. But if the certification was just that, I would have failed massively. So make sure that you gain experience. It's not just a matter of passing the certification, it's also by gaining the experience. So try to do stuff with AWS, try to be part of AWS communities. And I think communities is great. If you have a local AWS community in your region, in your town, a great way to connect with them would help you definitely in the long run. Just before we continue, Marcia, are you audible?
I hope so.
Yes, you are. Okay, you are. Okay. Just want to make sure that we can.
Yeah,
we can
I lost
hear
my
you
headphones.
Right
They decide to run out of battery.
See?
Okay.
Wires.
Okay. Yeah.
Wires. Yeah. So Twishish, I think there's no definite answer here how you can continue, but check out AWS communities. They can definitely help you with getting into the spin of things. Plus, if you're really looking for a job, a lot of times in those communities, people come up with recruitment and those kind of things. So yeah, at least that's my experience.
And networking helps a lot, I will say.
Yes.
So I know now with the plague, it's kind of hard to do real in-person networking, but there is many online communities, like, for example, the 100 Days of Cloud community. I will paste the link in the chat in a second, and other communities like that where you can meet people and that they are looking for, they're posting job ads, and also they are chatting, and they are all in different levels of their learning. Yeah. So I'm showing there, and I'm doing my 100 Days of Cloud, even though I'm not a beginner. So you can join in any point of your career, and it's a really good place for networking in these current times, for example.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah, and it much depends on what you like to do. I mean, if you have the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate a certification, then you know pretty much that what different things you can do with AWS. Maybe not in detail, and maybe you don't have experience everywhere. I don't. For instance, I've never worked with the media services. I don't know anything about them. I have never worked with AWS IoT, so I don't know anything about that. But still, take what interests you. Try and play with it. Maybe build some demo for yourself. Talk to people. become part of the community. We have so many AWS user groups across the world. And maybe even apply for a job at AWS. I mean, we have many open positions, entry-level positions, where we don't really require, especially entry-level positions, we don't really require a profound proficiency in AWS. The most important thing is that you are curious and you're willing to learn. And I've learned so many things in the last 12 months being here at AWS, much more than before, even though I used to work with AWS before.
I've never worked with AWS before joining AWS. So my first time seeing AWS was when I joined AWS. So that's just but I joined in premium support, so that's a really good thing.
Yeah. Let me see. We have a few more questions.
We have a question for Marcia, or a serverless question for Marcia from Hamid Rasul.
Yeah, let me put it up. Is there any way to manage existing Lambda functions and triggers along with existing aliases and versions through SAM?
Yeah, I don't think you can import existing Lambda functions to SAM. No.
No. You can reference them using CloudFormation reference, but I think that's as much as you can go.
Yeah, because, and here's the thing, like, especially if you have not a complicated setup, I think maybe Marcia can confirm this. If it's not a too complicated setup, you can just recreate them again with SAM, because Lambda functions are not something that runs constantly that you can have downtime. So it's relatively easy to migrate.
Yeah, and then you can just switch the endpoint. For example, if you're using API gateway, just switch where the Lambda is pointing. But yeah, I don't think there is, like, you can import them any other way.
Yeah,
you can import resources into CloudFormation if you do them indirectly in CloudFormation, but it's not SAM. Well, it is SAM, but you shouldn't do that. I think that would make it too complicated. To do it that way. So I would definitely advise to not import stuff like Lambdas.
Yeah, what you can do if you use Cloud9, for instance, in Cloud9, the cloud-based integrated developer environment, IDE, over there you're able to import existing functions into your Cloud9 environment, and then you basically could copy them into new functions. So you have all the code you need because you imported them to the environment, and then you duplicate them, create new functions with exactly the same functionality, and make them basically part of your new SAM template.
Even if those functions are not built with SAM, if you build them with your, I don't know, the console or something like that. I never use Cloud9 very intensively.
So that might be something to try out.
Yeah,
definitely.
Let's see. We have a number of other questions. I'm trying to.
Thank you for the questions, everybody. I like this.
Yeah, that's really nice. And also, please follow us on Twitch. And also, if you have any questions that you would rather like to ask in private, you can always DM us follow us and send us a direct message on Twitter. I understand that many questions are very difficult and technical in nature, as something that might be difficult to answer in this kind of setting, or maybe really you're a customer and it's confidential information. So if you approach us directly, we will always treat your questions confidentially. So this is something that you can do as well. So let me see. What else do we have?
There is a question regarding CloudFront and HTTP API.
Can you put it on the screen?
Absolutely. How to forward a path from CloudFront to HTTP API for service rendering. You mean basically integration of CloudFront plus API gateway. You can do that with a REST API. I'm not sure if it's possible through the the new HTTP API. So the HTTP API is kind of a stripped down version of the API gateway, the REST API gateway. It has less features than the REST API. So I'm not sure if this is possible. But if you're looking for something like the just generic API gateway, here's the link on a really great post from AWS how to do this.
Then there is another question on when to choose one technology over another. I will paste it in the screen.
Is it this
one?
Yeah,
that one. Yes.
Okay.
So they are asking, as a full stack developer, when to choose between virtual machines, container, or serverless. So I think I would recommend, if you are starting from scratch, to go all the serverless way, because that will make your life way easier. You don't have to maintain any infrastructure. But if you already have something, then it's a different story. What is the answer? It depends.
Yeah, it's always, it depends, and I think especially what you want to choose. Now, if you can do things with serverless in a very good way, so if you're starting fresh, you want to do a completely, I would say, application from scratch, and your use case fits the serverless model, do serverless. It's
but serverless model nowadays, it fits so many.
Exactly.
If you're starting from scratch, you can do almost anything with serverless, because they keep on adding features all the time. And I think if you're a full stack developer, maybe, I don't know what kind of full stack developer you are. If you are coming maybe more from the client, then maybe serverless will be more easy for you, because you don't need to learn all about infrastructure and networking and managing all these kind of things. But if you're coming from a full stack developer, maybe more from the infrastructure side, then maybe virtual machines and containers might sound more familiar. So also it depends what is your knowledge.
Yeah, that's a very important. I'm sorry, please go ahead.
It's always a question of time to market as well. Time to market. If you need to move to market in a week and you have experience with virtual machines, do virtual machines. Don't think about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What's your context? What's your experience? Of course, with serverless, you can go pretty quickly, but still there's a learning curve. One thing that I would, one thing that I would recommend is have a look at AWS Amplify, which is a tool set that helps you build out basically a full stack application on top of serverless technologies with AWS pretty easily. This, at least it's a way to learn how things work and play together. So this is something where you can really build with a few, it's not clicks of a button, but a few commands on the command line interface in the console. You basically build out everything, a client, a web-based client that could be React or Angular or Vue.js, for instance, but also the API in the backend and the authentication in between, and the Lambda functions behind the API to then really do the actual work. So I think AWS Amplify is something that is really great to at least learn and understand how serverless functions, because it's different. It is a different mindset. Right. It's a different way of thinking.
Absolutely. Serverless is not just a compute platform. It's everything around it, and it's an operating model. It's not just, oh, I'm just gonna switch from virtual machines to serverless. No. It's not that. It's not that for sure.
And maybe if you're coming from the front end, it's way easier to learn Amplify than to learn something else, because it's so integrated in the client, in your web app or in your iOS, Android app, that you don't need to worry that much about the infrastructure that is being generated. So I will leave a playlist with a lot of videos on Amplify if you're interested.
Yeah,
Marcia does a lot of content on serverless and Amplify. So if you're not coming from her YouTube channel, do check it out for sure. I want to answer another question about serverless, and this is coming from Vahe. A lot of API endpoints, API gateway, each of them points to Lambda function. If enable provision concurrency for each Lambda, it will be too expensive. Do not enable provision concurrency unless you need to.
Unless you need it.
Yes. Provision concurrency is bad.
I will not say it's bad.
Okay, so
but it serves a purpose.
So provision concurrency is good if you're a bad developer, right? So if you have no ways of optimizing your Lambda code, if you have no ways of making your Lambda functions work better or everything else around it, yes, then you can use provision concurrency. You'll pay and you will solve the problem. Yeah. But I would always advise you to try to fix your code, make it more optimal, rather than to pay for provision concurrency.
And sometimes it's about creating a more asynchronous flow, because if you're coming from a developer background where you never work with asynchronous things, you are making your Lambdas functions do a lot of things that maybe part of those things can be set for later to do asynchronously, so you can return the response and everything will work really fast, and you don't need to worry too much of having this provision concurrency in your Lambda, so you can make it faster. But in some cases, you need provision concurrency if you want a super fast response. But I will say that that's like the 5% of the cases. It's not like you should enable it in all your endpoints. So
yeah, the thing is, we had that in the question before. Serverless applications, building serverless applications, it is a different mindset. It is a different way of thinking about your architecture and about how your application works. And one of the things that happens to me all the time, whenever I learn a new technology, I start applying my old mindset to the new technology and start trying to use it as I would use the old technology. And there's a certain risk when using serverless functions, Lambda functions on AWS, to still stay in the old mindset, and provisioned concurrency helps you do that, allows you to do that. But in the end, it very often turns out that you can be much more effective if you really try and learn about, understand how serverless application architecture works. It's very similar with just moving to the cloud. Many companies in the past thought, okay, we will just move our data centers to the cloud and it's going to be less expensive. And what they did is just take all their infrastructure, lifted and shifted it into the cloud, and didn't change anything around that. So they didn't change their the way how they thought about their IT infrastructure. And this very often led to them being dissatisfied, because it turned out they could only save maybe like 10 or 20%, or sometimes it became even more expensive. So going into the cloud means starting to reason about your architecture and about your infrastructure in a different way. And it's the same thing as if you go to serverless. And this is something that occurs to myself as well, because I've been building standard multi-tier web applications for the last 25 years. So I've built all kinds of front-end servers, back-end servers, database servers, application servers, all that kind of thing. And I'm still struggling with that. When I build Lambda functions today, I'm still thinking, very often I catch myself thinking in terms of servers and back-end and front-end and application and statefulness and all these kinds of things. It is difficult. I'm very aware of that, but that's what I would say. Try and think about it. Try and really think about it in a different way, and try and understand. Could you do you have a use case where you could get along without provision concurrency if you think about it in a different way? But having that said, as Matthias said before, there are certain cases where provision concurrency really is helpful, but these are a minority of cases. These are edge cases.
Exactly. We have two questions to answer here. Very similar questions. One coming from where is it right now? No, wait, did I lose it?
Yeah, while you're looking for it, maybe for the new joiners on the stream, welcome. Thanks for being here. This is the AWS EMEA, stands for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Office hours. We are developer advocates with AWS, all three of us based in the EMEA region. And we take all your questions, technical or non-technical. So please ask us in the chat. And if you would like to ask us in private, hit us up on Twitter, send us a private message. I think our channels are open. Let us know if you would like to know anything about AWS. Let us know here in the chat or in private on Twitter. So,
so from Ayman, there is a question: which programming language is the most important? And from Biegovic, there is which best programming language for serverless front end? So very similar questions. And the answer, as always, it's it depends. I think there is, this is a very subjective thing. I would say, which is the best programming language? Now, of course, you will definitely choose the mainstream languages. You will not potentially go for Objective-C. COBOL, Objective-C, do something like that.
A person that have been doing serverless COBOL, and I have to bring him to my YouTube channel to do an interview and a demo, because that was mind blowing.
Serverless COBOL. I've seen serverless Pascal and I've seen serverless Visual Basic, but I have not seen COBOL in serverless.
It depends according to what you know, but also the what you want to do, because there is a lot of libraries that will make your life easier. And if you are not in the right language, maybe you cannot access those libraries. So if you're doing, for example, Amplify, what are the main supported frameworks and languages. Look for those. Don't go maybe with something that is not unsupported, because you will not have the libraries for that.
Exactly. So,
Yeah, if you're starting out, I mean, what I try, and I'm putting that away now, because I used to be a consultant, and this is the consultant's answer. And the great thing here is we don't try to sell anything. We really just try and help understand things. And if you're just starting out, so if you don't have a specific context where you need to do something, where it depends on many external factors, if you're just starting out, I would really say have a look at Python, because Python is a very easy, simple language to learn. It has its dark sides, definitely, but it is something.
Right now, you said it's an easy, simple language. Some
Gatekeepers
will be angry.
Yeah, they will, and they should be. That's perfectly fine with me. And
they great if you want to do machine learning, for example. So if your goal is to do machine learning, just don't think too much. Go with Python. You can do it with JavaScript. You can do it with other languages, but Python is the best for libraries and all the that is around for that.
Yeah, but for serverless specifically, if you want to start building Lambda functions and learning how that works, something like Python is really nice, because you can write very simple code without all the ceremony that you need with Java or C#, for instance. You can also use, if you have used JavaScript in the past, you can use JavaScript, because that provides a number of lots of modules that you can pull in from the community. But if you have worked with Java in the past or with the .NET framework in the past, just try and use that, because there's two things. One thing is learn about serverless. How does it work? The thing we talked about before, what's the mindset? And if you do both, learn a new language and a new paradigm at the same time, this can be a good thing, because with the new language, you also are in a new paradigm. But it can also be easier if you say, let's use a language that I know and try to learn about serverless. But the risk there, of course, is because you use a language that you know, you might still keep thinking the way you did in the past. So that is something for you. Just try it out. Be aware of the fact that serverless works a little bit different. And if you want to learn about that, take the language that is simplest for you, maybe because you know it, or because it is a language where the basics are simple to learn. And that definitely is Python. I would argue regarding JavaScript, because with JavaScript, you have a million ways to shoot yourself in the foot. Because it looks like
TypeScript.
Yeah, you can use TypeScript. So let me have a look at the commands. We have a number of more questions. I will take this one for now. I'm deploying, David, thank you for the question. I'm deploying Spring Boot REST web services on Lambda with DynamoDB, but I want to transition to SQL database. Any recommendations? Any recommendations?
Aurora Serverless. Yeah. If you want to do serverless, I mean, the only way to get at least right now, the only way to get a relational database, not transactional, relational database, a serverless model is Aurora Serverless. Right?
Well, you can use a normal RDS and use the RDS proxy, and that will help you to create your connections, because one of the main issues with SQL databases is they are built for having a server, not like a million things are connecting and disconnecting. So if you don't want to go with Aurora Serverless, and you want to go with a more traditional SQL database with RDS, check the RDS proxy. That will help to give you a connection pool and managing all your connections.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the main problem about serverless and relational databases or traditional databases, is not the fact that there's a problem with the database. It's just compared to like a traditional approach where you have 1 or 5 or 10 servers, you can have thousands of Lambda executions, which will constantly create connections to your databases, and that's where the bottleneck is. So RDS proxy is something that is
that's really helpful there. We have a different question here. If Javier is going to show up today, because
already it's not.
He was scheduled for today. He wanted to join, but unfortunately he couldn't. But I'm sure he will be online next time again. He's fine, so nothing. He's fine, but just something came up. Now let's see.
I can speak Spanish if you want. I mean, I'll try to imitate Javier.
I can speak Spanish.
Okay, you speak Spanish and I'll be Javier. I'll just put my name as Javier.
Yo no,
You just voice over me.
yo no hablo español.
No hablar español.
Another question: what are the best entry-level roles for fresh graduates? Do you have any?
TechQ, Amazon TechQ.
Yeah.
TechQ is a great program that helps graduates basically get internships into specific jobs at Amazon. So if you're looking for a position at Amazon, search for AWS or Amazon TechQ.
Yeah, I'm going to put that on the chat.
Okay, so that would be a great way to start. Now, I don't have a lot of details on that, but basically what it boils down, it has some open positions open for graduates, and that can help you, right? If you're asking me about any other position regarding any other job when you're a graduate, I don't know. I never finished school, so maybe both of you can help, but I really don't know. I went from high school to building computers, basically. So that was my life.
To be honest, same here. I don't have any formal education. I never went to university except for sitting in the data center back in the early 90s when that was the only way to get on the internet.
No.
But
I've been to university, and I can tell you the first job is hard to get. But to get your first job, I would recommend you to do networking and to have a portfolio that you can show something for, because in IT, degree is not that important. You need to be able to show that you can build something or whatever is your background or what you want to do. So try to invest the time while looking for a job to create a portfolio and to build some relationships with people that can help you to get the first job. It's the hardest to get, in my opinion. At least I had to get my first job twice, when I first graduated from my home country and again when I moved to this new country. And it's tough. If you don't know the people and you don't have the contacts, it's very hard. But it comes. And then after that one, then if you have a connection of people, you will move forward in your shops quite easily. But build a portfolio and make meaningful relationships.
Yeah. And when we say networking, we don't mean computer networking. We mean people networking. So
network. People network is the most important network.
However, I'm working on my AWS networking certification right now.
Okay.
That is some serious work.
I just want to say hi to somebody, Mr. Algebra97. He recognizes where I'm from. Yes, I am from the Balkans as well. I am a man of culture, apparently.
Here's the different question. I don't know. The thing is, many AWS customers, we can't just talk about our customers. We have to treat things confidential. I'm not sure if we have any publicly referenced.
We have public references in the webpage of Amplify you can find. And also there are these events coming, I think every quarter, called the Amplify Days, where many customers using Amplify are coming there and speaking about their experience. I will post now the link in the chat of the reference of AWS public reference, but I would recommend you this Amplify Days. And I'm pretty sure in re:Invent, that will be this free week event, free for everybody. You will find a lot of customers talking about Amplify and how they use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people ask me, I think one of the previous streams, somebody asked me, so is Amplify like a production ready service? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, simple as that. It is. It's built on a lot of robust services out there that does its job. And if the feature set fits your requirements, it is.
Yes.
Now, if you are missing a feature, wait a bit and tell us, hey, I need this.
Or take. Much of it is open source, so you can really start enjoying and contribute.
Build your own.
Build your own. So this is one for you, Darko.
CDK over Terraform. Why should I prefer CDK over CloudFormation or Terraform? Wait. I want to show this. I have an example somewhere. One moment. I have a great example about this. Do I have it here? 1 second. Yes, I do. So let me share a screen. Share a window.
I remove the question.
So.
I'll remove that banner as well.
You can remove the banner as well.
Yeah, here we go.
So Vim, actually, let me see what I have here. CDK, Vim, CDK, ESG, user data, lib. What is the file? This one. Okay. Why doesn't Vim work here? Excuse me. Excuse you. Windows. Wait. Okay, so it takes a single line to create a VPC in CDK. It takes 87 lines to create a VPC in CloudFormation. It takes 50 some lines to create the VPC in Terraform. That's why. Okay, it's not just that, but yes, you should definitely, if you have never worked with CloudFormation nor Terraform, right? If you never had a chance to play with it or work with it in production or actually having some knowledge in it, and you just want to start with doing infrastructure as code, do CDK. CDK, if you want to use the Terraform features of the CDK, there is a module that helps you deploy Terraform through CDK. And if you don't care about that, CDK in general gives you the ability to use your own programming language knowledge, such as JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Java, C#, F#, Golang coming soon. You can use the knowledge of those languages to actually build and provision infrastructure in a much more streamlined way. So something that would take me, a typical example, a CICD application using containers and a full CICD pipeline, a set of containers, creating a complete container cluster on Fargate on AWS takes 80 some lines in CDK. It generates around 900 lines of CloudFormation code. So it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So definitely would be my approach to do something like that, because it just makes your life that much easier. So no question about it, right? So
yeah,
unless you have already worked with it, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I've posted 2 links in the chat. One CDK for Kubernetes and one CDK for Terraform. So there is a large community around CDK, so you will be able to use CDK to provision different kinds of infrastructures.
Yes.
And this is one of the reasons why it makes very much sense, because you're not locked into a specific service like CloudFormation or Terraform. With CDK, you can target Terraform, CloudFormation, you can target Kubernetes, and in the future, probably many more. So it definitely makes sense, at least to have a look at CDK.
Absolutely. I mean, CDK, in essence, on AWS uses CloudFormation. So it is still using CloudFormation in the backend, but you don't have to write that CloudFormation. So it offloads a lot of things. If you have ever used CloudFormation and have to read a file off disk, that's not possible. The way to deploy Lambda functions with CloudFormation is much more complex than doing with CDK or even SAM. So definitely go for CDK.
Mm-hmm.
There is a question I would like to answer about CICD.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it on the screen. Somebody's asking about CICD tools. And I want just to give a shout out to all the amazing tools that they're inside the AWS platform, that they're under the AWS code star. So it can be code build, code pipeline, code commit, code deploy. There's a set of different tools, and now I have artifacts, code artifacts or something like that. So basically you can do your end-to-end deployment if you're only using AWS. But I think also it works on premise for deploying your applications. Definitely take a look at this suite of tools. It's extremely powerful. You can build them as CloudFormation or CDK, these pipelines, or even with Visual 8 tools. So I will definitely recommend them if you don't have any tool of your preference. And that's what AWS supports and what we have.
Yeah, and that's also what, because the question is what we guys are using in Amazon in general. So AWS is one part of Amazon, and Amazon, they use services based on our CodeStar services as well. So they, of course, they have their very sophisticated, very customized pipelines that has been built over the years and has changed and has been modified. But technically, what we provide you in terms of the CloudStar services is what has been proven as very, very, very usable inside of Amazon. And we have millions of deployments per year. So the Amazon.com website has millions of deployments per year, and that's really going through a CI/CD pipeline. This would not work if it wasn't automated.
And the code pipeline and code build and all those tools are actually based on our internal tooling. So
Yeah.
Our internal tooling existed before code pipeline and all those tools existed. And basically we decided to build our public tooling based off the ones we use internally. So that's what we were using. I know there's a lot of things out there also. So, but yeah, this is something we use.
But a lot of those internal tools, like, for example, Code Pipeline integrates with many third-party services.
Yes.
So if you're using Jenkins, for example, to build, you can integrate the pipeline. So it's very extensible services.
Here's an interesting question that is dear to my heart, because I used to work for a company many years back where work-life balance was not so much a thing, and that really led to health issues on my side. How do you see the work-life balance in AWS? And thank you very much for bringing that up, because that's an important topic, not only here at AWS, but everywhere. Especially with nowadays, with COVID, we are under constant pressure. It is a very difficult situation, even though we don't feel it. Maybe we don't feel it every day. It's there, it's present. Yeah. So I guess it depends on the region teams, but overall, how about EC2 related teams developers? I can't talk about development teams at AWS because I have never worked at one. I used to be a solutions architect. Now I'm a developer advocate. And maybe there's two answers that I have for this question. On one side, at Amazon, everybody is a leader. Everybody is considered a leader. Everybody is responsible for what they do, and nobody tells you what to do. That means you are very free in what you do, and you are free to take care of yourself, and that's fine. That is fine if you take care of yourself. On the other side, nobody ever tells you to stop working. So we expect ourselves and our colleagues and our employees to be responsible about their work, but also about themselves and their mental health and their well-being. And the teams, of course, are different, and there's this "it depends" answer again. In our team, I really can say people take care of them. So we take care of each other. I mean, we are very distributed. We are from Helsinki all the way up in the north to Cape Town. Kobus, who's also in the chat, I've seen today. Hey, Kobus, who's a colleague. He's in Cape Town in Africa. We are extremely distributed, so we rarely see each other in person, especially now with COVID. But we're constantly talking to each other. Chatting with each other, having video chat sessions, and really trying to take care of each other as well, as far as that works. But you need to take care of yourselves. You have to set boundaries, and that is something that you can do and that you're allowed to do at Amazon and at AWS. Set your own boundaries. If you wouldn't do that, there might be issues, because yeah, it's just how it is. We have so many things to do. Yeah. You have to learn this. First thing I had to learn when I joined AWS is to say no to others, but also say no to myself, in terms of there are so many things I can learn right now. I have a fire hose right in front of me that I can drink from and learn from. And the most difficult thing for me really was to say no to myself. No, you don't need to learn about this now, even though you would like to, because there's so many things, so many trainings I could attend, so many videos I could watch, so much documentations and code bases I could dive into, on all kinds of things. So it's really very much up to you, but you are free to take care of your mental health and your personal well-being at AWS. That's my experience. I don't know.
And it's a marathon, not a sprint. So don't burn yourself off, because the workload is always stable. My husband sometimes he laughs at me because this is a lot of work, and he was like, "You always have a lot of work." Yeah, exactly. So not like it just peaks. Well, reInvent comes, then Summit comes, then this comes. So there is always something. So you need to really learn to say no and balance and put boundaries. Where I will be with my kids, where I will be with work, where I will be with my husband, and be very tough and say, hey, no, I will not take a meeting at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and especially in the days of this entire situation right now, what is a weekend, right? Are you ever away from the office? At least myself, this is my office, and this is what I do. Everything else, and everything seems to blur in a single thing. So it's very important to do it yourself. But Amazon does not I have not seen, at least I have not worked in a development team, but I know developers working in development teams, and I have never heard of a thing like, oh, you have to work 24/7. I think there is it's very encouraged that you have a very a good work-life balance, if that such a thing exists anymore. So
yeah, we do have. I don't know if you have heard of that. We do have a number of so-called leadership principles at Amazon, and these are not just words written somewhere in the headquarters on the wall. These are things that we really live by day. And one of those is have backbone, disagree, and commit. And that means speak up. If there's something, we are not trying to be socially cohesive. So it's not about harmony. Yeah. We fight a lot, but in a reasonable way and in a friendly way and in a non-hostile way, of course. But if there's something where you feel like that is not okay, speak up, have backbone, disagree. And if the team then says, okay, but right now we really need to make that work somehow, of course, you as part of the team are part of the team, but it cannot be business as usual to have to work late. Sometimes, especially in IT, sometimes there is an emergency and people need to take care of it because of our customers. That's what's most important for us, our customers. But if the requests are unreasonable, you can disagree. You can speak up, have backbone, and you can also escalate. So because things are getting difficult, maybe it doesn't really work out, you can escalate. We have mechanisms, we have teams that you can talk to that are specifically there for you. If something, if you for whatever reason are not able in that moment to really solve that in the team. For
sure.
Yeah.
Let's take a controversial question.
Oh, yeah. Take the one you wanted to.
Okay. No, I just was continuing with the list, but I always like this question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Consider Fargate to be serverless, and I think in the serverless community, that's a very controversial question. But if you are the ear of what AWS says that something is serverless, there is this kind of 4 tenets that something needs to be serverless. You pay for how much you use. You don't have to manage infrastructure. It automatically scale, and it's high built-in availability. Then Fargate, according to AWS, is serverless.
Also, code pipeline is serverless. Code build is serverless.
Yeah.
Code commit is serverless.
S3 is serverless. DynamoDB.
S3 is the most serverless servers ever.
Yeah, SQS and so forth. So it depends. It highly depends on the definition of the term serverless. And actually, I don't like to use the term serverless because it has different connotations. For some, it's really just functions as a service, like Lambda functions, for instance. But for us, really, it's about you don't have to take care of service. If you use SQS or SNS or S3 or Lambda functions or Fargate, you don't have to take care of your infrastructure. You just say, I need that now, and you get it. And that for us and we take care of the high availability, and we take care of the provisioning and all that. And that for us is serverless. So Fargate is one of our major serverless services. It is serverless containers. Yeah. Yep. I have a different question here from Giak34. I have issue for a demo project using Next.js for front on Lambda and backend Node.js with an API gateway in between, and RDS. The page takes between 1 or 2 seconds to load the first iteration. Yes, and that has a reason.
Cold starts. If you're rendering your web page using Lambda and you're doing it for the first time, there is a thing called a cold start, and it's usually in this range depending on what kind of a Lambda function you're using. But cold start is basically the first time you execute a Lambda function, the entire machine in the backend needs to kind of bring your environment that actually it's a server that hosts your Lambda function, and it takes a while for it to set up, and every subsequent launch after that, until there is a big pause, is warm Lambda function. So every other one should be fine as well. So
not everyone. If you have concurrent calls, and a second function, a parallel function is being fired up and so forth. But one of the things is cold start on one side, but cold start isn't that much of an issue usually if you don't pull in too many dependencies. or if you don't have to fire up a VM like with Java or C#. But one of the other things is, and we talked about that before, is RDS. The first time the Lambda function starts, it has to open up a connection to RDS. And that is from a resources point of view, that is very expensive, because it is a cross-process, cross-network thing that has to be done. And that is something that you can mitigate that by using RDS proxy for one, because that basically holds a connection for you, and your Lambda just needs to pick up that already open connection. The Lambda function doesn't need to open a connection for itself. And the second thing that you really can do to optimize the performance for subsequent calls is to do all the things that have external dependencies outside of your function handler. So if you open the connection inside of the Lambda handler, it's being opened again for every subsequent call. If you open it outside of the Lambda as part of the function initialization, then it is being held open for subsequent calls, at least when this specific function is being reused. The warm function is being reused. But what I would recommend is doing maybe not using RDS, and taking something like DynamoDB, if that is possible in your case, at least for specific things, because RDS is much quicker when it comes to connecting to it, because it's just an API call. Maybe use something like RDS proxy to have basically a warm connection that your Lambda function can use.
And also, don't test the first call, because when this is in production, you will have, I imagine, multiple customers coming in, and they might not be using the code Lambda in most of the time. So I will recommend you to go on in your CloudWatch and check your latencies and your analytics for your application, and look at the P99 or P95 metrics, and see how in general it's responding for your traffic. So how many customers are affected, and how bad is the latency or the call stars, or all those kind of things that you can find in CloudWatch, because maybe it's just a small amount of users and it's so minimal that it doesn't make it's not something that you want to fix. But if it's a lot of your users, then maybe you want to invest some time and doing what Dennis was suggesting.
I have a completely different question here from a Mookie Monkey about customers getting banned from AWS. This has happened often, and what causes the ban. So we have terms and conditions. You are not allowed to use AWS for illegal things. For instance, the terms and conditions can be found on our website, and you also, when you open an account, you also agree to the terms and conditions. Usually, we don't just ban customers. If it turns out that from your account, there are certain activities that, from our perspective, appear to be dubious, then we usually send you an email. Our security team monitors certain things. We never look into your data. We don't look into what actually you are doing. But if there are certain network traffic patterns, like for instance, there's
spam.
Nothing that
spam email,
yeah.
25 SMTP.
Yeah,
if get banned crazy.
Yeah,
I think the official rule on the AWS, you cannot send emails without people being subscribed to those emails. You have to get consent from people to receive emails from your services on AWS. So if you keep on spamming people, when I say spamming, I mean sending people emails without their consent, you can get well, maybe not banned, but you can trigger the terms of service problem. So.
Right, and when that happens, you usually get a mail from our team telling you that there is suspicious activity in your account.
Correct.
It may be compromised. Maybe you accidentally leaked credentials, but it could also be, in fact, that that there is some activity, some deliberate activity, and then of course, if that is not being taken care of, we ban the account, we ban the customer, at least until it has been resolved, because we need to make sure that our platform is not being used for illegal activity. And that's when we ban people. We don't ban people for talking bad about AWS. You can have every opinion, and I have my own opinion about AWS. And if there are any things that you don't like about AWS, please approach us. Please tell us. We would like to know and get better at what we do. So
also, one more thing you can get banned for: abuse of AWS personnel. So if you abuse premium support, and I've seen this. I've seen people abuse premium support. When I say abuse, I mean just go nuts. And people would basically that's breaching terms of service. You cannot do that.
Yes.
So it's not just the technical stuff.
Yeah, but
no, nothing. I was just pointing a next question. But
okay. Yeah. If you talk trash about AWS on Twitter, you're fine to do that.
No, that's fine.
It's free speech. You can say whatever you want. It's really about what you do on the platform and what you use the platform for. And if you interact with employees from AWS as a customer, for instance, with customer support, if you cross boundaries, of course, at some point we have to say that just doesn't work out. But usually we don't ban anyone. No, we don't ban anyone without telling them before that they are at risk of being. Yeah.
So I think this question appeared twice. So I think the person is really trying to get an answer. And I think it's AWS Organizations. It's something we don't talk much, and it's very important. So maybe Dennis or Darko wants to take a little bit on explaining how the organizations work.
You mean AWS account organizations?
Yeah.
Is that the?
I imagine that's the question. There is a longer version of the question here.
Okay. Maybe that is more. I'm a DevOps engineer, certified AWS associate. My question is, I wish to join AWS Workspace.
I think this has nothing to do with actual account organizations, but you want to be part of AWS. Is that the case here, or want to be part of the AWS community? Now, you coming from Pakistan, I believe we do have a couple of communities in Pakistan. When it comes to communities, I mean AWS communities. So folks who work with a lot with AWS, not employees of AWS or anything like that. They're just basically people who are enthusiasts for AWS and kind of have a lot of meetups together and work together on those things, like have a lot of talks, a lot of education, those kind of things. So for those, I would highly advise that you kind of check in with them, because that would be always a first point of contact for everybody who wants to get more into AWS, more into the AWS network, and those kind of things. And then from then, if you wanna join a backend team, for example, developer of an EC2, of course, Amazon.jobs. We have so many jobs opened when it comes to AWS. So do check it out for sure if you're interested in something. And like, again, if you have experience with development and backend systems and all those things, feel free to apply for a job. But I would highly advise you to check out the community. And Dennis actually just pasted awsug.pk. It's our user group in Pakistan. Connect with them, and you will have a lot more firsthand experience about how do they actually work with Pakistan and those things. How do they work with AWS in Pakistan?
We have another one regarding infrastructure as code, CloudFormation, and Terraform.
Yes. That's
yes.
The answer. So the question is, do companies prefer CloudFormation or Terraform?
Both.
Both. I don't think there's a preference, unless you have a requirement to have multi-cloud or want to manage multiple different types of environments, or you just prefer the HashiCorp DSL syntax, right? You would use Terraform. Otherwise, CloudFormation is just. So I would say that each of those languages have their own benefits and downsides. So CloudFormation is horrible to write. I hate YAML. I hate JSON with a passion burning in my heart. But I love the way CloudFormation handles your resources. You don't have to care about state files. You don't have to care about any of those things. It just works. Terraform has an amazing syntax. HCL or HashiCorp language just works so good. So I would definitely, if you would ask me, should you use CloudFormation or Terraform? Yes, you should use CloudFormation or Terraform.
Or CDK, or
CDK.
Or SAM. SAM is an extension of CloudFormation. Exactly. I put up a different question which is very similar to that one on the screen as well from Adrian. SAM, CloudFormation, Terraform, and Serverless framework.
So they all do the same thing to an extent, right? So they all provision infrastructure from code. Think of CloudFormation as the father in that family, and Sam is little son from CloudFormation. It's a CloudFormation's younger son. It's basically an extension of CloudFormation, while CDK is a weird uncle that kind of brings a lot of different languages and just creates CloudFormation. And then Terraform is the neighbor next door, which basically works in the same company as CloudFormation. They produce infrastructure, right? So they all have their benefits and flaws. SAM is perfect if you want to do serverless. Now, the serverless framework, I guess it's good for serverless. Never seen it, never used it. So maybe Marcia can do more on that.
Yeah, serverless framework is great. And it's open source project from a third party. It's a partner of us, and it has a lot of features that can help you to build serverless applications. If you are doing AWS serverless, maybe using SAM is easier because it's a native integration, but that's up to you. They are both great, so it's up to your choice.
It's, somebody said on Twitter, the best programming language is the one you're good at. So choose the thing that fits you the best, fits your use case. Of course, if you want to deploy stuff on multi-cloud or configure Cisco switches together with your infrastructure code, maybe Terraform would be the best solution for you. But if you're purely working on serverless applications, SAM or the serverless framework is great. But if you're just focusing on AWS, CloudFormation or CDK, again, really depends on what fits you best. So that would be kind of my advice here. If you have never worked with infrastructure as code and you have experience in development in any of the major scripting languages such as Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, some Java, C# and all those things, do CDK. Completely skip over CloudFormation. Just don't do it. Just do CDK because CDK in essence generates CloudFormation and you should be good. So somebody also mentioned Pulumi in one of the comments as well. What about Pulumi? Have you seen more customers shift towards that, using being more cloud agnostic? Here's the thing. I have not played with Pulumi. Pulumi is very similar to CDK. Pulumi also uses generic programming languages to basically provision infrastructure as code. Now, you can never be fully cloud agnostic with a framework like this, because even if you would use Pulumi or Terraform for like being multi-cloud, there's different ways to define an EC2 instance and an Azure virtual server, or however, I don't even know what it's called in Azure, a virtual machine in Azure. There's different ways to define it. So you cannot just reuse code and say like, point it to Azure and say, or GCP, hey, launch me stuff in GCP. You have to completely rewrite those things. Now, the only benefit is like you know the same language, but at the same time, if you do it that way, it doesn't really matter which language you use if you're using CDK or Pulumi. So I have a plan to play with Pulumi just to see what is it about. How does it work? But again, if Pulumi does a job for you, go ahead. I'm fully supportive. Just don't click. Don't use this. This is bad. Don't use this to provision infrastructure at all. So,
yes. Very often it happens. What happens to me? You accidentally delete infrastructure instead of provisioning it.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're at the top of the hour. I would like to take 2 more questions. Unfortunately, we cannot answer all because today there were so many questions, and it's really awesome to have you all on the stream. And please join us again. We're going to be here next week, the same time. And as I said before, send us, I'll put that on the screen real quick. Send us a direct message on Twitter or maybe even a public message with your questions. We're happy to answer everything. But I'll go back. I would like to answer 2 more quick questions. The first one being this one. We have an interesting noise. It's gone. Okay. Does API Gateway scale automatically? How much load can it bear? Yes, and as much as you need.
Too much sometimes it can get expensive. Be careful.
Yeah. So in some cases you might even want to throttle it. But I mean, we take care of, for instance, on our outer perimeter, we take care of a lot of DDoS attacks. So many things are part of, it's called AWS Shield, which is just there and you use it. There is an advanced version where you have even more protection and where you have a type of cost insurance. So if you are being attacked, if you have a DDoS attack and that leads to costs on your side because many thousands or millions of resources are being fired up, that you're protected from the cost from that. But with Shield Standard, which is just part of the infrastructure because we protect ourselves and we protect our customers, you get some DDoS protection. But when it comes to application load, which is so part of a normal access pattern, normal user usage pattern, if that's much, of course, it can raise cost. API gateway can virtually scale indefinitely. So if you have a really high load application, congratulations, that is really nice to have. But at the same time, you might want to throttle at some points. The second thing, and the last question for today, and this is something that's really important. If you mistakenly leak AWS access keys on GitHub, we do scan public repositories for AWS keys, just to make sure that, because that happens. It happened to my last project team outside of AWS, before AWS as well. We accidentally leaked keys to GitHub that they were part of an old commit, not even the current commit, but they were in an old commit, and we leaked that. And we try really to help our customers, protect our customers, because there are services, malicious services, or not services. There are scripts out there scanning GitHub all the time and trying to use the credentials for malicious purposes. Yeah. And what we do is we do the same thing to protect our customers from that, because it can happen by accident. So we lock the account until the credentials, the access keys, have been deactivated. And what you definitely should do is use, maybe you can just draw it up, Darko. What's it called? The hook, the Git hook for the hook for credentials.
I don't know. OAuth or what?
No, we have a Git hook. We have an open source Git hook that you can put in that scans your code.
It's a Git application, right?
It's.
I forgot, but yeah, basically, yeah. It helps you just not to commit any secret access and secret keys, and that's very important that you avoid that at all costs. I mean, we will let you know if it happens, because we scan the public repos. So it's a pre-commit hook. Yeah, it's a pre-commit hook, but I don't know which
Git
one.
secrets. I've got it.
Git secrets. Yeah. Okay. Got
Git secrets. I'll put it in the chat. Here we go.
Yeah, under no circumstances, I mean, you should be really careful about what you're committing to a repository. Nothing private. If you ever need to use keys, use them either in environment variables or use them in like parameter stores, HashiCorp vaults, or secrets managers, or any kind of different way to reference it.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess we can slowly close it down. Dennis, can you throw up our Twitter handles, because people asked in the chat? Can we just show them again?
I put them in the chat, but here.
Do follow us on the social medias. Do follow Marcia on her YouTube channel if you're not coming from her YouTube channel. A lot of great serverless content. Dennis has a lot of streaming content if you're German, if you like it in German, or also in English. I've really decided to use my own channel for German content and use official AWS channels for English content. Thank you everyone for being here. We had so many great questions. There are some questions we weren't able to answer. I'm really sorry, but as I said, chat us up on Twitter, follow us on Twitter. We're online next week again. Probably other people. We try to rotate faces a little bit. Yeah. Next week at 10 o'clock BST, 11 o'clock Central European summertime, and 12 o'clock Eastern European summertime. We will be online again with the AWS EMEA Ask Us Anything. Thank you for being on the show, and have a great day. Have a great week. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Where's my coffee?